Hi, Matt Bianco, Bianco School of Baseball. So this will be our tip of the week. This is on trying to select a team for your rec league or an all-star team or a travel league team. Major League Baseball rates 5 skills of this game. They refer to them as tools. They are running speed, arm speed, bat speed, your power, and your defense. What they do with running speed is you're on a 60-yard dash. What I suggest that you do, because you're probably going to do a tryout for youth baseball at an indoor facility, you probably won't have that far to run. You should be able to find 100 feet. So we do that here for our tryouts. So I have a little example here. I'm going to show you how we would rate kids on these 5 tools. So I randomly picked 4 names, and the names I picked today are Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, because we try to stay of faith. So what we had these guys do is they all ran. So we ran a 100-yard dash, and what happened is, here were our scores. Matthew ran it in 6.07. Mark ran it in 5.81. Luke did it in 5.53. And John actually was our fastest at 5.05. I keep this very simple. They're young kids. I grade them on a 1 to 3 scale for all the skills, except for fielding, we go 1 to 5. But the main skills are 1 to 3. Pretty simple. Everybody is a 2, because 2 means you're average. Unless you show me that you're above average and get a 3, or below average and you get a 1. What I do with this running scheme is I just base it off the kids that are there. So I'm going to show you in a few minutes a whole team that tried out, and there was 18 players. And I actually can number those players 1 through 18 by these 5 tools pretty easily. And there's really no opinion in here. It's a pure number. So what I would do here with running is I would give these guys all a score. 3 being our best score, I have to say that John is a 3. He is our fastest runner. And I would say our worst runner has to get a 1, so Matthew's getting a 1. And these 2 are in the middle. It's fair to give them both a 2. Now I had everybody throw on a radar gun. And here are our scores on the radar gun. We got a 50 miles an hour for Matthew. Mark gets 43, Luke got a 45, and John got a 42. Again, I come right back to our scale and say, well, this has to be our best. He's a 3. And I'm going to say this 45 is pretty good. I'm going to give that a 2. And that 43 and 42, to me, they're both a 1. They're lower side of the scale. So these red numbers are going to accumulate to 1 final score. The next thing we started to do was bat speed. So I watched the kids actually swing the bat in the cage, and I graded their bat speed. In my opinion, from what I saw, Mark got a 3. He had really good bat speed. He had the highest bat speed. Matthew and Luke both looked pretty average to me. And John was the only person I would say his bat speed looked below average. So we're starting to accumulate more scores. Then I went to bat contact. So I threw the players 8 hittable pitches. If one of those 8 is not a hittable pitch, you have to throw another. It's not fair to the player. I counted the contact made when I did this. So when I gave Matthew 8 pitches, he made contact with 7 that were above average. They were good contact. Mark was 6 good contact swings. Luke was 5. And John was 3. Again, I come back to my scale of 1 to 3. I'm saying Matthew's got to be in this scale the 3. He's obviously the 1. And these 2 were in the middle. So they're going to both get a 2 for their score. Then I went and watched them field. Fielding's a little bit harder, so I do it from 1 to 5. Again, 3 is an average. 4 is above, 2 is below. Occasionally you get a 1, somebody who really suffers with having trouble fielding the ball, and occasionally I'll get a 5 and say that is really, really good. That's got to be higher than someone getting a 4. So in the scale from what I saw here, I gave Matthew a 3. He's an average fielder. Mark was off the charts. He was better than everyone else by a lot. I gave him a 5. Luke was average, and John was below. So as you can see, we only have 4 players here. The more players you have, the easier it is to kind of go between them. I have 18 down here. I'll show you in a minute. But when I add up these scores, I have 1, I got 4, 5, 6, 6 and 6. He scores 12. 12 is the final score over here. 2 and 1 is 3. You have 6. 6 and 7, he scores 13. 2, 4, 6, 8, he scores 11. 3 plus 1 is 4, 5, 6, 8. So these 4 players are easy for me to figure out. Who's my best player here? It's Mark, because Mark ends up with the highest score. Who's my lowest player? It's going to be John. He has the 8. So if you hand me 20 players, I can actually number them 1 through 20. When I have ties with the same number, usually running speed will break that tie, and then arm speed can break the next tie. But this is a way for me to do this without using my opinion. Problems in your legs are if you don't make the 8-year-old A team, typically you're out of luck, because that 8-year-old team stays together till they're 12, and I strongly disagree with that. I don't know how to change that. It's a lot of the same coaches coach these teams, and they may see the same things. So some of the teams do come here, and we do this for organizations. So if I can help you at all, you can bring them here, and I can show you how I would score the kids. You also have some kids in your league that are just really good kids, kids that you want on your team. And you also have kids in your leagues that sometimes aren't good team players that give you problems. So it is fair to create another category, which you could classify as attitude or sportsmanship, and you can grade them on a 1 to 3 or a 1 to 5 scale if you so wish. But that's a fair way of truly evaluating a good sportsmanship player, a good team player, and one who is not. So it's something you could put into the mix if you need to. We're going to zoom in here in a second. I'm going to show you an evaluation of 18 kids and how that all came to play. Okay, here's an example. We have players 1 through 18. I just gave an initial for their last name. This is one we actually did here a few years ago. So everybody ran, and these are their scores for their running. And I numbered them 1 through 18. So 5.31 was our fastest time. So I take those 18 kids and I give them a 1, 2, or 3. The 6 fastest times all got 3s. The 6 slowest times all got 1s. And then the middle 6 got 2s. Okay, our next category was fielding, and they were allowed to get scored 1 through 5. That's the only skill that I'll give a 1 through 5 scale on. So I ended up with 2 players that were off the charts as far as good. They both got 5s. I had 2 players also that got 1s that really needed help with their fielding. 3 was average, 4 is above, 2 is below. So these red numbers are going to start to accumulate in their total score. Next was their arm strength. Here's the miles per hour. These kids were 7 and 8 years old, but this is the miles per hour that they threw. Again, there was 18 kids. I took the top 6 and I gave them all a 3 for their arm strength. The bottom 6 got a 2. The bottom 6 got a 1, and then the 6 in the middle got the 2. Next was their hitting. This was a score off of 8 hittable pitches, and we measured solid contact. So I took the top third, Top 6 players, they got 3s. The bottom third got a 1. The middle third again got 2. This is the amount of contacts they made out of 8 pitches. Next category was bat speed. Remember, we go 1, 2, or 3. 2 is average. Everyone's average unless you show me that you are a 3 or you show me that you are a 1. In this situation, no one had below bat average speed. Some of them had average, and then the 3s were the above average. So I take all the numbers that are in red, I add them together, and I get a total score. We had 3 kids that scored in 15, and went on to 14, and then so on. But this is a way to fairly evaluate a large group of kids without using an opinion. So when we do the fielding, typically I hit 2 ground balls right at them, 1 to their right, 1 to their left, and then I do a slow roller. They have to charge the ball and pick it up and throw it just to show athleticism. Running, indoors we typically do a 100-yard dash. Miles per hour, I use the radar gun. And then hitting is 8 hittable pitches. If you don't do this for your living and you have trouble getting the balls for fielding, we do have machines here that we will use for groups. That way that the child's getting an even ground ball compared to his teammates that he's trying out against. We do this full time so we can get them a ball off our bat that we know is fair for all the kids. But again, just a way to try to make this a little bit more fair and even for all the kids. And there are kids that work really hard through some of their off seasons. We hope that they don't get evaluated on what they did last year because they change so much from year to year. The purpose of this video is we have thousands of kids that come here for lessons. We have so many kids that work really hard in the off season, and they do get better from year to year. So we try to find a way that's fair for them to be evaluated on. This is exactly what they do at the pro level. They grade them on the same system. Their numbers might be a little bit different, but it's the same principal system. And in fairness to all these kids that come here and work out on a weekly basis, we like them to get a fair shake and making their team for the following year that one they maybe didn't make the year before through their hard work. So I hope this helped you. Again, this is just my opinion, but I think that it'd be a fair way to evaluate your players. Thank you.